These are the most absurd Family Guy episodes ever. And starting off, there's no music, no cutaways, and hardly any laughs. Just a dog and a baby trapped in a bank vault in the episode Brian and Stewie. Brian and Stewie stop by the bank so Brian can put something in his safety deposit box. Stewie tries to hurry things along as he has a $3,000 sweater to return. Where does a baby even get that kind of money?
None of your damn business, that's where.
Yes, sir. Sorry, sir. As they bicker back and forth, Stewie goes to wait outside, but the vault door suddenly closes, locking them inside. Stress seems to hit them both in different ways.
Did you just crap your diaper? I got scared when the door closed.
No amount of banging on the door or shouting can help them, as the lead-lined door won't open again until the next morning. Stewie desperately needs his diaper changed, but Brian isn't too keen on the task despite the overwhelming smell. Luckily, Stewie has an idea, but Brian's not going to like it.
Eat it. What? Eat it, Brian. You're out of your mind.
Well, Brian is a dog. Dogs do that stuff sometimes. But Brian would rather shoot himself than do that. Good thing there's no gun here, right? Before anything can get too out of hand, Stewie remembers that he has a cell phone. Hallelujah. With a low battery, they need to make this call count. Clearly their priorities aren't matching up because Stewie decides to call the store he was trying to return the sweater to. When Brian finally manages to wrangle the phone from him, it dies. Frustrated beyond belief, Brian slaps Stewie.
You stink, and now I'm trapped in here with you and your stink because you were too stupid to call somebody who could help us.
Damn. I mean, he's right, but damn. Stewie goes to cry by the door, and although he still wants to be mad, Brian decides to be the bigger man, dog, and help Stewie out. And by God, he does it, down to the very last drop. I'm with Brian. I'd have shot myself instead. After that PTSD-inducing ordeal, the two lie down for a nap, though Stewie realizes something important.
I just realized something.
What?
Tomorrow's Sunday.
With no sense of day or time, Brian and Stewie decide to get wasted off some booze Brian has stashed. Looking to pass the time, Stewie drunkenly comes up with another request for Brian.
I want you to pierce my ear.
Let's do it.
Of course, alcohol and needles don't always mix, so Brian essentially just stabs Stewie in the ear, even ripping it. I don't want to look at that. After that, the two get into a deep discussion on living with purpose, and Stewie questions if Brian even does that as a dog. Brian fires back, and the two get into a war of words to see who can hurt one another the most. Stewie starts strong by saying he doesn't care about Brian.
I don't really care. No, you're just smart enough and you're just clever enough to occasionally amuse me.
Stewie even says that he had Brian eat his poop just for fun, wanting to see if he could convince him to do it. Brian threatens to shoot Stewie, but gets distracted when he sees a security camera inside the vault. At first, he thinks it could save them, but then he realizes that the entire day has been recorded. If TikTok had been around then, it would have been over for Brian's reputation. Stewie jokes that he could just shoot Brian to save him the embarrassment before accidentally firing off a round in the vault. Because the whole place is bulletproof, it continues to bounce all over the place while Brian and Stewie cower under a table.
How long is this gonna last?
No idea.
Sunday rolls around and Stewie asks why Brian has a gun. It seems like something a guy like Brian wouldn't own, so Stewie is confused about what he could be doing with it.
Why have it if you're not gonna use it? Is it like a sexual thing?
No.
Whew, glad we cleared that up. After poking around the bush a few more times, giggity, Brian finally admits he keeps the gun there in case he ever wants to use it on himself. He feels as though he doesn't truly live with purpose and keeps the gun as a reminder of a way out if things get too heavy.
Is there ever a time when we're truly in the present moment and not looking toward the past or the future? I mean, right there, in the moment.
Jeez, Brian, I don't know. I don't get paid enough to think that deep. Stewie admits that he wouldn't know what to do if Brian was gone, saying that he's the only person he truly likes. Professing their love of one another, the two curl up together until the next morning when the door finally opens, with Brian carrying Stewie out into the light. No cutaways, no music, no gags, just one punch to the heart after another. To lighten things up, here are 3 short stories filled with superpowers, ghosts, and losing all your bones in Family Guy viewer mail number 1. Brian and Stewie introduced the episode by saying they picked their favorite 3 fan-submitted episode ideas to produce. In the first episode, titled No Bones About It, Peter finds a genie in a beer bottle promising to grant him 3 wishes. He uses his first 2 wishes on silly things like having his own theme music.
Sweet.
Not everyone enjoys Peter's soundtrack though, as it bothers a pretty scary looking man on the bus.
Look, I'm sorry, buddy. I can't turn it off.
Well then, I'm gonna break every bone in your body.
Thinking fast, Peter wishes he had no bones, which turns him into a gooey puddle of flesh. I think he's never looked better. Overhearing how much of a burden he's become to his family, Peter decides to suck himself down the drain, ending up on the doorstep of Hollywood. Luckily, Peter finds work as a crash bag for action movies, though he still misses his former life and family. But his life may just turn around when he meets a doctor at a party who's preparing to begin a new type of procedure.
I'm a doctor about to conduct an experimental procedure to give bones to a jellyfish, but I'd like to try it on a human first.
Not entirely sure why a jellyfish would need bones, but this sounds like a great opportunity for Peter. The operation was a complete success, though Peter worries his family may not love him anymore. To his surprise, they were the ones who donated their bones to help him. I love a happy ending. A disgusting, hard to look at happy ending. The next episode within an episode, titled Super Griffins, sees a toxic waste truck spill in front of the Griffin's house. When they touch the waste, they're given superpowers like telepathy, pyrokinesis, and extra long fingernails. I would rather have no powers instead of that. With great power comes great irresponsibility, as the Griffins use their power for personal reasons, like Lois stomping on cars to get through traffic, stealing martinis from a bar, and smiting your enemies and burning down the school in the process. The town comes together to find a way to stop the Griffins, but the family shows that they mean business.
We demand obedience!
Or else!
Looking to fight fire with fire, Mayor Adam West goes to the toxic waste dump to give himself superpowers, but he gets something else.
Mayor West, you have lymphoma.
Oh my.
When the Griffins hear the news, they go to visit the mayor in the hospital, vowing to only use their powers to help him and others from now on. Have you met this family? I give that a day before they're back on their BS. In the final viewer submission, Lil Griffins, we see the residents of Quahog shrunk down to little and kind of creepy looking baby versions of themselves. Peter runs a boys-only club, saying that all you need in life is your pals. This sentiment doesn't hold up for too long when a new girl, Lois, joins his class.
I'd like to play doctor with her. And remove her inflamed appendix before it bursts, causing sepsis.
On the playground, Peter and Quagmire vie for Lois's attention. They both challenge one another to spend the night in an old, seemingly haunted house to prove their bravery. Famous last words if I've ever heard them. The group of boys arrive at the manor, splitting off and forming their own teams. Both have the same idea to try to win the bet.
What we ought to do is pretend we're ghosts, see?
And then we'll scare the other guys out of the house.
Dressing up as a knight and ghost respectively, the duo fail to scare one another, but end up coming across what seems to be a real ghost.
Wait a second. If you're there, and I'm here, and Istanbul is somewhere in this general area, then who the hell is that?
The boys run off scared into the night, no doubt peeing and pooping their pants. Like you wouldn't do the same. Peter and Quagmire confess to Lois that they can't stay in the house, but she reveals she's not looking for bravery, but smarts. Enter Mort Goldman.
Sorry I'm late, darling. I was checking my stool for blood.
Thanks for the update, Mort. It turns out Mort tricked them last night with a ghost projector, which causes Peter and Quagmire to run off again. And there you go, 3 episodes in 1. Let's just hope the people who submitted those ideas don't quit their day jobs. Time to get serious again with Life of Brian, where Family Guy actually kills off the beloved dog. Things start off hot, with Stewie and Brian being chased by Native Americans with assault weapons in Humvees. Context? Never heard of it. It turns out this is all due to time travel meddling from Stewie.
You went back to 17th century Jamestown and you gave guns to the Indians, and now they're running everything.
When they try to go back home, they find that their return pad is all shot up. Hoping this universe's Stewie also has a time machine, Brian and Stewie sneak into his home and teleport back to 1700s America, grabbing the guns and then returning to their own timeline. Later that night, Brian walks in on Stewie absolutely destroying his time machine.
This time machine has almost killed us 100 times, Brian. And yesterday was just too close a call.
He's got a point. Surely he won't need it to reverse some kind of tragedy or anything. While scrapping the machine at the junkyard, the pair find a high-quality street hockey net.
You know, we should take this home and set it up, get some fresh air, get some exercise.
That's exactly what they do, admiring the beautiful day they have. It sure is great to be alive and not dead, I say. Nothing could ruin a day like...
Brian, look out!
Did I jinx it? The vet explains they've done all they can do. Brian's injuries are just too severe. A tearful Griffin family comes to say their goodbyes, with Brian mustering enough strength for his last few words.
You've given me a wonderful life. I love you all.
Give me a minute. Just play some B-roll or something. Determined to rebuild his time machine, Stewie goes to his titanium capacitor guy, but he tells him no one is building those parts anymore. Yep, my titanium capacitor guy told me the same thing. With no way to make another time machine, Brian's funeral is held for everyone to say their final goodbyes. Well, almost everyone.
Damn it, Ortiz, stop swinging at junk.
Time goes on, but the hole Brian left still remains. Lois believes the only way they can move forward is to get a new dog. At the pet shop, they manage to find the one talking dog of the lot, Vinny.
I'm just a regular guy. You throw a stick, maybe I bring it back. Maybe I bring back an iPhone that fell off a truck.
That's good enough for Peter. Vinny's coming home. Vinny seems to be hitting it off with the family already, but Stewie is still skeptical as they don't seem to mesh as well as he and Brian did. When Vinny finds Stewie crying outside, Stewie reveals he's mad at how quickly the rest of the family's moved on from Brian's death and replaced him with Vinny. Meanwhile, Stewie is still reeling from the loss of his best friend. Surprisingly, Vinny can relate as his previous owner, who he considered his best friend, also died. Finding common ground, Stewie and Vinny's friendship begins to blossom. And with that, the world will miss Brian for 2 more episodes when he returns from the dead. Man, I feel bad for the guy that got this tattoo. The kill count grows in And Then There Were Fewer, where the show kills off several characters for good. The Griffins get a mysterious letter in the mail inviting them to a special gala dinner at a manor in Peter's honor. With no name on the letter, the family immediately thinks it's a scam, yet Peter is still thrilled to attend. The family arrives at the secluded manor, confused to see many of their friends and acquaintances there as well, with everyone having received the same invitation. Sorry, Peter, you aren't a special little snowflake. Later at dinner, the host of the evening is finally revealed to be seemingly everyone's mortal enemy.
Good evening, everyone.
James Woods?
Woods reveals he's become a born-again Christian and is holding this dinner as an opportunity to make amends with everyone in town that he's wronged. The guests seem unsure, rightfully so, but Woods assures everyone that he's turned over a new leaf.
Please, won't you just give me a chance? And I promise you won't be disappointed.
When Woods goes off to check on dinner, the guests debate over whether or not he can be trusted. Quagmire's date, What's-Her-Face, sits in James's chair to get a spiritual read on him. Okay, sure. Yet as soon as Brian pops the champagne, things take a turn for the worse.
Did the cork hit me?
She's dead! Oh, now there are fewer. I get it. Thinking James Woods to be the murderer, the party guests flee to their cars and attempt to leave. Before they can get too far, the storm knocks over the bridge, leaving them trapped at the mansion. With no way to leave, the group tries to call for help, but there's no service. Typical. They confront James Woods over the dead girl, but when they return to the dining room, the body is vanished. Still convinced he's the murderer despite his pleas, Joe attempts to arrest him until suddenly, the lights go out.
Is this what black people see all the time?
When the lights come back on, James Woods is dead with a knife in his back. Clearly, he's not the murderer, but someone in this room is. Dun dun dun! The group finds a hidden gun hooked to a timer, meaning that James was supposed to be shot, but the other girl was in his place. So now the question remains.
Who here wanted James Woods dead?
Everyone, probably? While snooping around for clues, Peter, of course, has to ruin things by goofing off in a suit of armor and knocking out Joe. Maybe he should be killed next. Unsure of how to proceed, the guests start accusing one another, with everyone seemingly having a motive to kill Woods. During a scuffle, a secret door opens up, leading to an office with evidence that Mort's wife Muriel used to sell opioids to Woods. Before she can be apprehended, the lights go out again, and when they come back on, she's nowhere to be seen. The group splits up to look for her, but when Brian and Stewie hear a scream down the hall, they find Muriel dead with the same knife as before in her back.
Muriel, my sweet Muriel. She was so young. She was so beautiful. She was so generous.
With their main suspect dead, the group needs to act fast before they're dead by daylight. Not the video game. As the night goes on, more guests start to be picked off, including Jillian's boyfriend Derek and James Woods' girlfriend Priscilla. My favorite characters, how could they? Priscilla is found in Tom Tucker's room, making him suspect numero uno. The anchorman quickly flees the scene, but is quickly caught. The next morning, the bridge is repaired and Tom is taken away by police. All seems right in the world. While getting ready to leave, Lois checks in on Tom's broadcasting partner Diane to see how she's doing. Though shaken, Diane says she'll trudge forward as the sole anchor, even showing her a blouse her mother bought her for her first solo show. Wait a minute.
I mean, how could she have known you'd be anchoring alone? I mean, none of this happened until...
With her cover blown, Diane pulls a gun on Lois and explains how this was all a ruse to get back at James Woods for dumping her and Tom Tucker for trying to replace her with a younger anchor. Now knowing the truth, Lois is led outside to a cliff to be killed by Diane. Before she can go through with it, Diane is hit by an unseen shooter tumbling into the water below. But who could be behind this last-minute save?
If anybody's gonna take that bitch down, it's gonna be me.
Oh, it's Stewie. Things get weirder when Stewie and Brian accidentally clone themselves, leading to 2 of their deaths in Road to Vegas. While attending Quahog's gay pride parade, Brian manages to win tickets to see Celine Dion in Las Vegas. You may know her as the woman who did the credits song for Deadpool 2. Brian invites Stewie to join him on the trip, which Stewie immediately agrees to. When it comes time to leave for the airport, Stewie suggests using his brand new teleporter to make the trip. The machine powers up, there's a big flash of light, and nothing happens. Disappointed, the two head to the airport, but despite this, Stewie and Brian do appear in Vegas.
You know, this is gonna be a good trip, Brian. I really feel like fate is on our side.
With 2 stories running parallel to each other, we see one Brian and Stewie enjoying the fun of Vegas, while the other trudges their way there on a crowded airplane. The Vegas pair even manages to win big on a slot machine. Gambling looks fun! You're telling me this actually ruins people's lives? The other Brian and Stewie finally make it to their hotel, but are surprised to find that their room was already checked into. Brian tries his hand at the same slot machine, but it ends up eating his dollar. Checking into a dump of a hotel, the unlucky Brian and Stewie try to turn the trip around in the casino. Nothing works out for them, with Stewie blowing all of their cash on a single round of roulette.
I put it all on 16 because of that Taylor Swift song, 16. That song is called 15. It came up 15!
Both parties head to the Celine Dion show, but when the lucky Brian and Stewie get in, it invalidates the other's tickets, keeping them from seeing the show. Fed up with the whole trip, Brian just wants to go home. That may be difficult though, as Stewie reveals he gambled away the tickets. Stewie suggests calling Lois for help, but Brian says the money they lost was Lois's that he took without asking. Quite the Vegas pickle. In a last-ditch effort, Brian and Stewie put money from a loan shark down on a basketball game, which of course goes sideways.
We lost, Brian. Oh crap, we're screwed.
Not knowing they're sitting behind themselves, the Stewies accidentally grab the wrong backpacks, leaving the lucky ones with nothing and the unlucky ones with everything.
I've got a bad feeling, Brian. I've got a good feeling, Brian.
A loan shark goon kicks his way into the lucky Brian and Stewie's room, believing them to be the ones who borrowed his money. When they try to give him their winnings, they find all of their money to be gone. Out of patience, the goon asks Brian which one of them he should kill, but Brian refuses to answer.
Fine, I'll kill you. No, kill him. He's a baby. He won't even remember he was alive.
You son of a bitch.
Meanwhile, the unlucky Brian and Stewie contemplate what to do while they wait to die, with Stewie suggesting a final option.
We could go out on our own terms.
What, you're saying we should kill ourselves?
After some convincing, Brian and Stewie plan to jump from their balcony. They count down. 1, 2, 3. Whoops, Stewie didn't jump.
You dick!
Stewie is horrified, but he ends up stumbling across all the money in his backpack. Nothing like a few grand to make you forget about your dead friend. The last remaining Stewie and Brian run into each other at a bus station, showing to Stewie that his teleporter did in fact work. With each of their significant others dead, the two just kind of shrug their shoulders and head back home. Watching your best friend die in front of you, that's the Vegas experience, baby. 2 lives ended, but how about the whole world ending in a nuclear apocalypse like in Da Boom? On the eve of the year 2000, Peter is informed by a man in a chicken costume about the impending Y2K disaster set to take place at midnight.
Planes will fall out of the sky, and all the world's nuclear weapons will explode, annihilating the entire planet.
Ooh, scary. Good thing we never feel like the world is going to end now, right? Rushing back home, Peter tries to talk his friends out of partying on account of the whole world ending and stuff, but they just laugh him off. When it comes time for the Griffins to go to their own parties, Peter, prepared for the worst in his hazmat suit, tries to convince them not to leave. He manages to trick them down into the basement with the promise of Christmas gifts, but Lois won't be fooled.
Honey, are you pregnant?
No.
As the ball, clam, starts to drop, Peter prepares for the worst. Yet when the clock strikes 0, nothing seems to happen for a few seconds. Peter's doomsday comes true as nuclear warheads detonate all across the world, destroying civilization as they know it. With the Earth now a post-apocalyptic hell world, the family tries to get by with their new lives. Could be worse, they could be fused together like Cleveland and Quagmire.
Oh, hey, Clevemeyer.
That's Quagland.
Quagland? Oh, you must be dreaming.
Peter and Brian go out to scavenge for food, with Brian's nose leading them to the scent of barbecue. When they arrive at the news station, they find Tom and Diane cannibalizing reporter Trisha Takanawa. Hey, don't knock it till you try it, I suppose. With no food to be found in Quahog, the Griffins pack up their things and head to Natick to find a factory with the one food that can survive a nuclear fallout: Twinkies. Don't quote me on that. The gang drives until they run out of gas, but conveniently break down near a nice farmer who offers them food and shelter. It seems like paradise, except for the the mind-numbing singing of Randy Newman.
She takes a bite, chews it once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, stops.
The unknown wasteland sounds better than whatever this is, so the Griffins keep moving on foot. Finally arriving in Natick, the Griffins find the Twinkie factory stocked with food. They plan to not only rebuild civilization like home, but better, proclaiming the city to be New Quahog. With the help of others, the Griffins manage to build a bustling settlement in New Quahog, opening up stores and government buildings, as well as electing Peter as mayor for life. As mayor, Peter makes some questionable decisions, like assigning everyone a random job pulled from a hat.
Village idiot, that's a good one. On Tuesdays, you get to wave your penis at traffic. Congratulations!
Despite having everything they need, Peter wants to get their hands on guns in case trouble starts to arise. Peter ends up using the metal pipes from their irrigation system to make the guns, effectively destroying the town's water supply. Enraged, the townspeople attack Peter and throw him and the Griffins out of town. The people throw all the guns into a big fire, but are suddenly attacked by a bunch of mutant Stewies. Oh yeah, did I forget to mention Stewie's an egg-laying mutant? It didn't seem that important. With no weapons, the town descends into chaos.
You remember the other day you were asking me what the definition of irony was, and I said,
With New Quahog destroyed, the family finds solace in still having each other as they brave the wasteland together. Only, this was all a dream. How original. Brian and Stewie's troubles get a lot smaller, literally, when they're shrunk to microscopic size in Big Trouble in Little Quahog. Sick of being taken advantage of because of his height, Stewie decides to build a shrink ray in his bedroom. He first tests it out on Brian, who picked on him for his height earlier in the day.
What the hell did you do to me, Stewie?
Aw, he's so cute! Stewie finally manages to get an apology out of Brian, but before he can change him back to normal, a monstrous rat comes from underneath the bed, scooping him up and carrying him into his mouse hole. And yes, it's still called a mouse hole when it's a rat. Unable to help Brian at this size, Stewie decides to shrink himself down and take out the rat in a way he'll never see coming.
I'll have what she's having.
Not sure that line works here, but I'll allow it. Brian and Stewie make their way back to the shrinking machine, wading through the carpet like it's grass, but before they can make it, they're forced to retreat due to Lois angrily vacuuming.
I hate my life and nobody can hear me say it right now!
Unable to make it back to the mouse hole, they're sucked into the vacuum and unceremoniously dumped into the trash outside. Desperate to make it home, Stewie floats down using a plastic baggie while suggesting Brian use either tampon strings or dental floss to rappel down.
Which one did you go with?
Neither. I was hoping to kill myself.
Well, not today, Brian. Not today. The duo make it to the side of the house and utilize a lattice to climb into Stewie's room. Whatever happened to those things? How do kids sneak into each other's windows nowadays? Luckily, they make it back to the device, and through a little bit of teamwork, they manage to fire the machine up. But when they don't start growing, Stewie realizes something is wrong.
Wait, did you hit the tiny button or the button that says tiny?
I hit the button that says tiny. You said hit the tiny button.
Oh, no. So the tiny button makes you big, but the button that says tiny makes you tiny? This is making my brain hurt. Not only are Stewie and Brian tiny, they're microscopic. If only they could take in the beautiful and strange surroundings, but they immediately become surrounded by an assortment of tiny creatures, including the thing they were hiding behind. That's Vernon, the water bear. He's cool though. Vernon takes the pair to his home to meet his friends. When Brian and Stewie realize the creatures need water to survive, they strike up a deal with them.
If you guys help us, we'll make sure you never want for water again.
With the help of the water bears, Brian and Stewie make the long journey back to the device, eventually coming across Brian's laptop. They hope to get inside to remotely hack into the shrink ray, but there's a horde of dust mites hot on their trail. Stewie manages to successfully hack in, but they still need to activate the ray from the keyboard. With their combined weight and a wave of mites, they manage to activate the ray and grow back to regular size.
Stewie, you're a genius! No!
Yeah, probably should have seen that coming. Unbeknownst to them, Peter and Lois are about to have the house bug-bombed. The house begins to fill with gas, so Stewie and Brian dash downstairs, but are stopped by a tent at the door. Heading back upstairs, they get a hand from Tiny Tom Cruise? Well, if there's someone who knows death-defying escapes, it's him. Well, looks like everything worked out in the... Wait, aren't there 2 more Griffin kids? I'm sure they'll be fine. Looking for a real head trip? You Can't Handle the Booth is an entire episode told over DVD commentary, which includes special appearances from the voice actors. Don't let this hurt your brain too much, but the Griffins are invited in to do DVD commentary on an episode that doesn't actually exist. I don't have to explain to you what a DVD is, right?
Okay, welcome to Family Guy DVD commentary for episode 1614.
In this fake episode, Peter is dead set on getting the brand new crab crabapple smartphone, but you can barely hear anything that's going on over the family in the booth commentating. The family in the episode arrives at the phone store where Chris gets into a fight with a woman over a gold smartphone.
She wanted it more than me.
Take it easy, huh?
Lois doesn't think getting everyone a smartphone was a great idea, as it seems to turn everyone into mindless phone zombies. Biting commentary in this episode, huh? Well, you can barely tell what the commentary is because the DVD commentary talks over much of the episode, even making us miss the setup for a cutaway.
Nice going, Meg. You talked over the setup of this cutaway, and now we don't know what's going on.
We're treated to a pretty horrific attack by a demonic Jesus, but we don't hear much about the how or why because the family starts talking about their paychecks. Lois gets Peter's by mistake, discovering that he makes way more than her.
This number is 4 times what I make. Peter, you always said you made the same as me.
I'd much rather watch what's going on back there, but yeah, I guess we can hear them talk about how much money they make instead. When Lois calls Disney to complain, she finds out that Peter makes more because he's paying alimony to his first wife. You're not the only one shocked to hear Peter has a former wife, so is Lois. Peter reveals he was married to actress Sarah Paulson, who actually cameos in the episode they're commenting on. To make things even more meta, Sarah joins them in the commentary booth.
For real, she's actually coming into the booth right now to be part of this commentary.
Hi, everybody. So sorry I'm late.
A jealous Lois makes passive-aggressive comments about Sarah not having children, while Sarah makes a joke about Lois not being invited to the Emmys. Oh, and Peter's pretending to be sick in the episode or something? Not gonna lie, this is a difficult episode to break down. Peter and Lois leave the booth to argue outside, but eventually come back in to finish the commentary.
Oh, you guys are back just in time for my big role.
Hey, take it down a notch, Sarah. You don't even have an entry on the Family Guy wiki.
Well, she does now. Peter gets a very long musical number in the episode, which angers Lois as it adds nothing to the episode. Yeah, like they haven't been doing Conway Twitty cutaways for years.
Are there even any jokes in the song?
Do you not understand comedy? It's a reference.
Fed up with her husband, Lois drops a bombshell, revealing that Chris may not even be Peter's son. The two argue, leading to Lois calling it quits.
Marriage is over! Enjoy spending the rest of your life alone! And enjoy doing the show without me, cause I quit!
While the house is getting robbed in the episode, Peter decides to go try to find Lois and talk some sense into her. Before he can, the family is joined by none other than Family Guy's god, Seth MacFarlane.
Holy crap, it's the mouse from Sing! I'd recognize your voice anywhere.
Okay, settle down.
Seth tears this whole thing wide open, saying that there's no need for them to worry because they're just cartoons. They aren't real. He even brings in Meg's voice actor Mila Kunis and Chris's voice actor Seth Green to prove his point.
That's right, Meg. You're voiced by me, Mila Kunis.
Lois eventually returns and is given the same existential news. They all realize that their issues don't really matter because they're a cartoon, which actually sounds pretty comforting to them. If you're looking for an explanation for what's going on in the background episode, I've got nothing. In Back to the Pilot, Stewie and Brian, well, they go back to the pilot episode of Family Guy and try to prevent a national tragedy from happening. When Brian starts reminiscing about a tennis ball he buried all the way back in 1999, Stewie offers to lend him a hand in figuring out where he buried it. Is there any problem a time machine can't fix? Using his machine, Stewie teleports the duo back to the roughly drawn year of 1999, where they find their house and family looking a little different.
Look at you. You look like a prize at some Mexican church carnival.
Excellent. The mind control device is nearing completion.
Brian manages to find the spot where he buried the ball, but is stopped by Stewie when he goes to retrieve it. Gotta remember the golden rule.
Brian, there's one rule of time travel, and that is, do not alter the past in any way or the consequences could be dire.
When they peer back into the house, they find the family talking and then suddenly standing motionless for a few seconds. It quickly dawns on Brian and Stewie what is happening.
Oh, they're setting up cutaways.
So that's what they do when they cut away. Kind of unsettling. The duo goes up to Stewie's room to teleport home, but are forced to hide when they hear past Stewie coming upstairs. Their cover is blown when Stewie sneezes under the bed, forcing him and his past self to meet. Wow, 12 years later and he hasn't aged a day. Wonder what his skincare routine is. Before Stewie can retrieve Brian, he slips from the window and falls on Peter's car, which drives off to a party. Stewie manages to catch up with him, taking a peek at past Peter, hanging out with all the characters we've come to know and love.
TV's not even plugged in.
After this trip down memory lane, Brian and Stewie try to return home, but the teleporter ends up dropping them off at a football stadium, a later scene in the pilot. It appears the teleporter needs new batteries, so the pair grab as much cash thrown by past Peter as they can before leaving. They narrowly escape getting crushed by the descending blimp by hopping in the teleporter at the last moment. With new batteries in the teleporter, Stewie and Brian finally make it home. Everything seems normal until Lois comes in with an announcement that a statue for him is about to be unveiled, which Brian doesn't understand.
What do you think, Mr. National Hero? For stopping the 9/11 terrorist attacks and saving our country.
Yeah, turns out when Brian said he was going to use the bathroom back in 1999, he actually warned his past self about the event. But so what? He stopped a national tragedy. That's not a bad thing, right? Well, the video of him saving the day is pretty cringe.
Time to terrorize the terrorists. Ugh, you prepared catchphrases for yourself?
One crisis is averted and another one is caused when this leads to George Bush losing re-election in 2004, pushing him to recreate the Confederacy and declare civil war against the United States. Brian still believes this to be a net positive, saying that 5 years from now everything will be fine. Stewie decides to test that theory with the two jumping 5 years into the future. In the future, things go from 2D to PlayStation 5 graphics. Stewie and Brian find their family to be much lazier in setting up jokes.
Here's a cutaway. Matthew McConaughey is terrible.
Things seem dull, but overall fine, until they look out the window, revealing the world to be a war-torn hellscape. To make things right, the two will have to go back to the past again to prevent Brian from talking to his past self. They manage to catch their, how do I explain this, past-future selves? Letting them know what will happen, the two return home to check if everything is right.
We did it, Brian! We made 9/11 happen! High five!
Yay? But it appears Brian couldn't help himself, making him the original author of the Harry Potter series. So they go back to the past again, and again, and again, until countless Brians and Stewies are trying to stop one another. One of the Stewies takes the lead, with the group voting on whether or not they should let the September tragedy happen. That probably sounds great out of context. The Yays have it, and all the Brians and Stewies return to their time. Now they just have to stop themselves from going to the past in the first place.
Get the back in your time machine!
Okay, no more time travel episodes. I'm starting to get a migraine. Finally, with the most out there episode yet, Stewie and Brian travel across multiple dimensions in a race to get home in Road to the Multiverse. Starting off at a Quahog Clam Day, Stewie shows off the ribbon he won for having the best pig in the show.
Oink. Oh my god.
Stewie reveals he got this beefy pig from a special farm, inviting Brian to show him. It turns out that Stewie's built a device to traverse the multiverse, which is the theory that there are an infinite number of possible universes.
Now, in each of these alternate universes, the reality is different than our own. Sometimes only slightly, sometimes quite radically.
With Brian's curiosity piqued, Stewie decides to show him the wonders of the multiverse. Stewie first takes them to a futuristic Quahog, one that exists in the same time and place, though in this universe there was no Dark Ages, so humanity is more advanced by 1,000 years. In this world, there are genetically perfect pigs, genetically perfect Megs, and even digital bathrooms. Can we prioritize inventing that last one first?
One poop removal.
Wow, did I just go poop?
You sure did, all digital.
Stewie asks Brian if he's ready to go home, but he's eager to see more of what the multiverse has to offer. Not seeing the harm in it, Stewie agrees, first taking them to a Flintstones-themed universe. No sign of those awesome gummy vitamins, though. Stopping at a Japanese-dominated universe, the two have seen enough for one day, so they decide to return home. They make it back to their house, but something seems off.
What? What?
Turns out they're in the wrong universe, ending up in one where everyone has two heads with two separate emotions. Stewie assures Brian he can get them home, but the next universe they jump to is completely frozen over. Looks like they'll have to put that plan on ice. Please laugh. The boys won't stay stuck for long, as Stewie's compliments make Brian's tail wag enough to push through the ice and reach the device.
Just press the red button.
Okay, which one's red?
Press the big button.
Next, they arrive in one of the coolest looking universes where everything is drawn like a Disney cartoon. Everything is so cute and whimsical, with everyone from the humans to the animals to the appliances singing about pie. Brian and Stewie actually contemplate staying in this universe. They decide against that plan when they realize that in the Disney universe, Mort gets some rough treatment due to his religious beliefs, let's say. Reluctantly, Brian and Stewie continue their dimension hopping. Unsure of how to get home, the duo find themselves in a world where the roles of dogs and humans are swapped. Brian has a bit too much fun with this universe.
Oh, yeah. Come on, Holly, let's go. This guy's a freak.
Eager to stay, Brian takes the device from Stewie. They tussle, leading to the remote breaking. Womp womp. Now stuck, Stewie is collared to fit into the world. Brian seems happy with this role reversal, but Stewie really tries to test him by doing just doggy things.
Pick up my poop!
I'm not picking up your poop. Hey, you, pick up that poop.
The two find the dog Griffin family, even meeting their pet human, Brian. Human Stewie and dog Stewie go off to talk, and as it turns out, dog Stewie has figured out the answer to their multiversal problems.
Did you have the shuffle button on? Oh my god. There you go.
Who hasn't left on shuffle on their multiversal device, am I right? Before they can make it home, Stewie bites dog Peter out of anger, earning himself a one-way trip to the pound. With the help of dog Stewie and human Brian, the trio manages to break Stewie out and send them back home, including human Brian, who wants a taste of the human world. Eager to make a life for himself, human Brian thanks the two and sets out on his journey.
Look at him go. free in a world of his own kind, where he can finally reach the full potential. Oh my god, he got hit by a car!
Well, that was quick. At least we still have Dog Brian. That is until season 12. But if you want to see all the times Meg deserved jail time, subscribe and click this video here.